Interview Ringo Starr, London, December 1968. Last week was quite a controversial week for the Beatles.
Yeah.
How close are you? We've had reports that you're not as close as you used to be and that the Beatles aren't as rich as everyone's thought they were and
Yeah,
that they
that's
might have to
true.
close down Apple.
Yes, well,
How true
that-
is this, Ringo?
Well, should we take them one at a time?
Yes.
All right, what was the first one?
Are you as close?
Yes,
with
you know, there's that famous old saying, you always hurt the one you love. And we all love each other, and we all know that, but we still sort of hurt each other occasionally, you know, where we just misunderstand each other. And we go off, you know, and it builds up to something bigger than it ever was. And then we have to come down to it and get it over with, you know, and sort it out. And so we're still really very close people. What was the second one?
Do you see the Beatles going on like they are at the moment for a long time in the future, or do you see a split very soon?
It depends what you mean as a split. I mean, we split
Go your separate ways and not
completely.
perform
No,
together?
we'll never go. Oh, I can't say never, but I mean, we won't go our separate ways after this album, and we'll always be tied up with each other in some way. You know, because we've signed a lot of papers. It says we stay together for 20 years or something. And Apple closing, you know, is silly. We have spent a lot of money, you know, because we don't earn as much as people think. Because if we earn $1 million, then the government gets 90%, and we get 10,000. And we didn't sort of realize how much we were spending. You know, like someone pointed out, to spend 10,000, you have to make 120. But we just spend as 120. So all we're doing now is tightening up on our own personal money and on the company's money, you know. We're not just giving as much away and handouts and things like that, you know, and as many projects. We're going to cut down a bit till we've sorted ourselves out again and do it properly as a business.
Do you feel you have been a bit careless with money?
Yes, I think we have. But it's not that we're broke. On paper, we're very wealthy people. Just when it gets down to pound notes, we're only half wealthy.
Are you concerned about public opinion? Because there is a suggestion that your popularity isn't as strong as it used to be.
No, it isn't. Well, it's because, you know, when we first started, we were the nice, clean mop tops and every mother's son, and everyone loved us. And then suddenly, you know, there's a few things that they don't understand and they don't get and, you know, they don't like. And so it turns them off us a bit, you know. But I still think we're very popular. It's just you know, we're men now, you know. We're a bit older than those lads that started out. And we've got a lot of things to do, you know. And you've got to do a few of them. Doesn't matter, you know, what people say. You can't live all your life by what they want. You know, we can't go on forever as four clean little mop tops playing She Loves You.
You seem to be the more industrious Beatle.
No, I'm the laziest Beatle, actually.
Are you?
Yeah, see, that's just my image. You know, I'm quite happy to finish an LP and go and sit back. But I can enjoy myself just sitting back, you know, and playing at home with all the toys and the kids and the wife. I enjoy playing with the wife.
Interview with Ringo Starr, London, July 1970.
We're all still good pals, and we're all good players, and we like to play together.
Yeah. You're all friends again now, which is a lovely thing.
We've always really been friends. I mean, we've had our little niggles,
Yes.
but I mean, we've always talked to each other, you know.
Yes.
So it hasn't been as
Even through the Cold War.
even through. Well, you know, it's never been as tough as the press sort of made out. You know.
Yes.
We did at least acknowledge each other all the time.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
we
You
weren't
spoke
like,
to each other on the telephone.
yes,
if there was a
and
situation.
saw each other. I mean, I saw everyone.
Yeah.
Basically, because I'm in England, I see George and Paul.
Yeah.
And in America, I saw John. I mean, John and Paul hadn't seen each other because of the 3,000 miles different, mainly, you know, in the travelling. But that was all. I'm sure if John had still been here, they'd have met each other. We'd have all met each other, you know.
Yeah. You know, I've just got this feeling that if anyone is likely to get the Beatles to reform again, it's going to be you. Because
Well,
you seem to
they
have-
say that. I don't know why.
Well,
I mean, you know,
it must
maybe
be
it's because I'm
something
so
to do with-
nice.
It might have something to do with that, you know. Don't you think that
No,
could happen?
no, it's down to the four of us. Not any one of us can do it. I mean, Paul used to be the one to get everything together.
Yes,
You know,
he did.
he'd phone us up. John and I'd be sitting in the garden. He'd phone up saying, "Well, should we do an album?" We'd say, "Oh, yeah, okay." Because what are we doing sitting in the garden? We'll go and do an album. You know, he used to be the one to get things moving, really.
Yes. Would you like to do it again?
Well, I wouldn't like to go out on the road and everything again. I think
No.
we could. The thing we could do was record together
Yes.
again. That's about it. I wouldn't fancy
But
going
not
on
a
the road with
concert.
anyone. No.
Not a stage concert again.
No, we'd have to get all that makeup on and high heel sneakers. Well, I'm not shaving my beard off for anyone. Maybe I'll just have it dyed gold.
You just grow into being a myth.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
It's a lovely idea of you all being together again.
it's like what you know. I don't know when those old vaudeville stars coming back. They never make it. I mean, I'm not saying we can't make it. It's shitty. See, you can't answer these questions in reality.
Well, there's no question you're not making it. I mean,
No.
you have a ready-made audience, wouldn't
Yeah.
you? I mean, the thing about it is, I mean, you've all got your own.
Yes, but we stopped
separate
touring
directions now,
even,
haven't you?
you know, after a couple of years because of what the albums. We could never reproduce that on stage,
Yes.
you know. So if we got together, we still wouldn't be able to reproduce it, I don't think, unless we did a very four-man album, you know, with not too much effects.
Yes. Yes. Do you think it's heading that way? You've really
Which
answered.
I
it.
did-
Well,
I didn't
mean,
really-
about you reforming
Yeah,
again. You really,
there's no answer to that.
no answer to that. It's in the lap of the gods.
Well, we're the gods.
Right.
Another good quote.
Are you
Oh, well.
tired of people asking you whether the Beatles will get together again?
Not tired.
Because they're always asking me. You see.
Well, I know. Well, imagine if they're always asking you, imagine how many people ask me.
Yes.
That's all anyone ever says, you know. And
When-
no one of us can answer that.
No.
That's the point.
No.
And the four of us hadn't sat around to talk about it seriously, about recording again. Because of, you know, we did have some musical differences and we'd have to overcome them again.
Mm.
Also, you see,
What were
even
your
when we
musical
first,
differences?
when we, well, I mean, listen to all our albums.
Yes.
I mean, just listen to them and you can see where we're all going, you know.
Mm.
And you'd have to melt all that again, you know.
Mm.
So that's the differences.
Mm. Do you think you'll be happy to go on in show business?
Yes,
as long
I'm
as-
Mr. Show Business, you know. Yeah, I'm about the most show business out the group, you know. I quite enjoy all that entertaining. You know.
Yes.
It's just strange for me when I'm up front, you know, after all those years at the back.
Yes.
And then suddenly I'm up there dancing and singing. And, you know, I have to get used to that a bit more.
Have you had dancing lessons, Ringo?
No, I had one when I was about 8, tap dancing lesson, but a friend and I went to the it was above a co-op shop in Liverpool, but there was too many girls there for us, and we left. I've been trying
got
to get
shy.
back ever since. Yeah, we're just these, you know, when you're 8, you know, you're going through that scene about, oh, they're only girls, you know, they're not really human. When you get to 9, then you start to realise what it's all about.
Looking back, what do you look upon as the most momentous moment in the career of the Beatles for you?
Well, I think the first one's always the sharpest, and that was Love Me Do, you know, getting right up to 47.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that was like the most incredible scene, that we had a record out, you know, that we had a bit of plastic with us on, for me.
Mm.
Then you got like the Palladium was another whole different scene. And then you got like America was another scene. You know, we had a lot of scenes, but the first one is the most powerful, and that was Love Me Do for me. I mean, that was more powerful than I think Please Please Me making #1.
Yes.
Just the idea of being on a bit of plastic, you know, was really incredible after all those years of playing.
When you look back on it, how do you react about that period, you know, which was a most amazing period, really, wasn't it?
It was the worst time and the best time in my life.
It was.
I mean, the best time because we played a lot of good music and we had a lot of good times, and the worst time because it's not, touring is never a pleasure. You know, playing was always the pleasure, but what goes with it, you know, and especially for a group who was as big as us, where it was like 24 hours a day with no break, with press and people fighting to get into your room, you know,
Yes.
climbing 25 stories of drain pipes, knocking on your window. I mean, it never stopped, and that was the wasn't the good part of it.
No.
But the shows, no, I mean, no one ever complained about them. It was just that everything that went around us would have, if we'd have carried on, I personally would have gone insane.
You would have done.
You know, and I also think if you do too much touring, and in those days we only played 12 numbers, we got really stale as musicians. And you can tell when you get stale, you know, you don't feel good. So then the shows tended to be off, but no one cared. No one knew if it was good or bad. You know, we'd do the same show in two towns. One, we'd come off feeling good, and one would come off feeling bad, but we'd get the same reaction to both shows. No one would know the difference bar us.
That is slightly inadequate feeling, isn't it? When
Well, you feel like, what am I doing? You know, I'm playing the biggest load of shit in the world, and people are standing and cheering.
Yes.
You know, which isn't good for you.
Not very fulfilling,
No,
is it?
in no way.
No.
You know.
Interview with Ringo Starr, London, December 1973.
I feel that you have this sort of instantly likable personality, and because of this, I've noticed people often in that position, they have to be cautious with people. Otherwise, it's easy for people to try and take advantage of them, Ringo.
Yeah.
Does this happen to you? Because people think you're so likable, they can come up and touch you or ask you things that they might not normally with someone they think's a bit more formidable.
Yes, that's possibly true. But the way my reaction is that I sort of tend to like most people till they create some sort of crap, you know, and then I just totally ignore the people.
And do you feel they've let you down?
A lot of them, yeah.
Yes.
A lot of them do.
Do they?
Yeah. Well, maybe I must let a lot of people down too, you know. I mean, you know, you get all those people saying, "Oh, I thought you were bigger than that, so I saw you on telly." So I must blow their brains out. You know, "Oh, have you lost a lot of weight? You look so much fatter in those films you do." You know, so we do it to each other.
Yes, so you feel there's a fair compromise.
But I think you're right. They do come up to me because I'm such a nice guy.
Do you find it easy to handle, though?
Yes.
Is that because of the strength of your Liverpudlian background? I mean?
It's mainly through fear.
So what do you do?
Well, you do
I
anything.
can never imagine you saying get lost to anyone. Or have you actually done it?
Well, we asked them, when we just got back from Bermuda, we had a few days there, Harry Nilsson, Hillary and I,
Yes.
and we were just sitting quietly on these rocks looking at an ocean. I don't know which one it is, the Atlantic or the Dead Sea, I'm not sure which one. They all look a bit the same. And this long-haired freak came up. Well, he's not a freak, just this guy, you know, young dude came up saying, "Hey, is that Ringo? Come, is it really? Can we come and talk to you?" And it wasn't my day to talk to him, so I said, "Well, I'm sitting with my friends, just quiet, looking at the ocean. We'd just like to talk to each other because we were talking,
Yes.
you know." So he said, "Can I take a photo?" So I said, "Listen, you know, everyone's taking photos. It just gets a bit boring. Do you mind? You know, just don't do it. You know, just give us a break. You know, I'd just like to have a few days off with you."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So then he sneaked round a rock and took a picture. You know, I just did a click and his head shot down because I got very good ears for cameras. And I said, "Oh, you're just like all the rest," meaning, you know, all the tourists and people like that. And with that, he leapt up and smashed his camera right in front of me, which is it's an amazing situation because you don't know what he's going to do next after that,
No.
you know. So after that, he was called the Kodak Killer. But we were very lucky he let us off. But, you know, and then there's other people, and you say, you know, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a break, you know. And I had one woman scream at me when I just didn't feel like signing. I'm just like all you other humans. I like to do things and I don't like to do things. Depends on my mood.
Yeah.
I said, "No, do you mind if I don't sign them? Because once one starts, and it usually does in a restaurant, as soon as one starts...
In a restaurant?
Yeah,
Yes.
then they all start.
Yes.
So you have no break and you have no time with your pals and you can't eat, you know, and people putting your fork out your mouth, you know, taking food out your mouth. I said, "Well, if you don't mind, because once I start one, I'd like, you know, they all come
queue
in.
starts, yes.
So if you'd be so nice, and I'm sure your daughter would understand if you just told her, and I'm sure the daughter would. That's the problem. It's all these 40-year-olds with purple hair who are hassling you." I said, "Just tell her, you know, I say hello, and that's it, and she'll be very pleased." So she just screamed at me, you've ruined your whole career. It's terrible. What? Because I didn't sell one the crappy cigarette paper, you know, a cigarette box. So you get all things, and then you get nice ones. You say, you know, please, you know, I'm just trying to rest or whatever, and they say, okay, that's nice, and they go away. So there's no like set pattern. You get the good one and the bad ones, you know.
But like anyone
And
else,
then another day I'll sign them all. You know, depends how I feel.
yes. But like anyone else, you do wake up some days where you feel you want to talk to people, and days that you feel that you don't want to.
Some days I wake
do
up
have
and I
moods.
feel right, like everyone else, and people forget that, you know. Also, I always think, well, if you buy a loaf of Mother's Pride, you don't go knocking on Mr. Mother's Pride door saying, I bought your loaf, I own you,
No,
you know, and take up all your day. So, but I suppose being a personality, we should expect these things. I don't know. I'd like all that goes on, but with the, you know, like definite holidays, like a bank holiday where no one will bug you at all.
And what have you invested your money in, Ringo?
Me mainly.
You have?
Yes, I bought a lot of toys.
What sort
I never invested in anything, you know. I just cameras and pool tables and slot machines and, you know, things like that, you know. That's all.
You don't have lots of shares?
No,
Or
no.
you
No.
keep your money in the bank?
What little I've got. Because I spend it all.
You
The
do?
money was here invented to spend.
Mm.
And it's very easy to spend it now. You know, it goes as far for me as it does for anyone else.
Mm. But you must be very wealthy, mustn't you? From
No, that's
all
what
this?
people think. No, I'm not wealthy at all.
You say the others are all better off than you.
Well, I think John and Paul are definitely better off than me, mainly on the publishing.
Yeah.
George has got a lot of publishing too.
Yes.
You know, and as making money, I mean, I don't write that much, and that's anyone in the business tell you there's more in writing than ever performing. We never got in for performing. That's just a promo gig. You know? No matter what they say, it's mainly a promo gig. I'm all right. I'll
You're
get
all
over Christmas.
We haven't got to have a collection. What is the future of Apple?
The future of it is undecided at the moment. We're going through a lot of turmoil trying to straighten ourselves out because we're still tied to each other, which isn't fair, because we, you know, it's not fair that I should share in Paul's efforts or he should share in mine at the moment because we don't work together, you know. So we're trying to sort that out, but we did all sign those silly pieces of paper when we were lads.
Which keep you together
Which keep
for how
us
long?
together until 76. And, you know, Apple will have to go on forever because it all, you know, it has all the Beatles stuff.
So it means whatever you do now, I mean, if John makes an album, you benefit from
I
John's
yes,
album
see.
regardless of whether or not you're on it.
Yeah, and I could just sit down for the next 2 years, not work, do anything,
It's
and
amazing.
collect, which is not fair, you see,
No.
because that's
and
what.
he can benefit from
Yes,
yours.
any one of us can do it. You know, any one of us can say, "Well, that's me. I'll see you in
I'll
'76.
leave
Just
it."
send the check." So it's not fair, you know. So we're trying to stop that, but it's very hard because, you know, once you sign your name on a piece of paper, they try and make you stick by it if it's fair or not, you know. There's no way you can go and say, well, listen, it's not really fair. We'd like to change it. Say, oh, but you signed your name, got you by the balls.
Are you still a vegetarian?
Yes, I eat meat twice a year. Bonfire night, I have a sausage, and Christmas, I have the turkey with the festivities because it's exciting.
Yes.
I get excited over Christmas. So they're the 2 days I have.
Yes. And if you could change anything in your life, what would it be?
Well, I've always thought I'd never change anything, even the bad times, you know, because then they showed you what the good times were. You know, you have something to compare if you have them
Yes.
both.
Yes.
I mean, I've enjoyed most of it, you know. And I was a sickly child, and I would go through that again if I was here now,
Were
talking
you a
to you.
sickly child?
Oh, yes, very sick.
In what way? What did
I
you
had
do?
peritonitis and TB.
Oh, yeah. Gosh.
That can't be bad.
So you have to be careful about your health even now, I should think. don't you?
Well, no, you kidding. Who's careful about the health? None of us are, 60 ciggies a day.
No.
Really does your lungs up. Nothing to be proud of. Don't go and smoke if you don't have to. I mean, I'm just...
You said you believed in reincarnation.
Mm.
So that means if one day you believe you will come back as something else.
Oh, no. Well, you'll
Yeah.
never come back as a cabbage. You never come back lower, and this is supposed to be the highest form.
I wonder what
So-
you'd like to come back as.
Well, I'd like to come back as one of our cats. They have a great time. But it's not possible. I'll be back here as a human, struggling again, trying to remember what I forgot this time.
Interview George Harrison, London, March 1969.
All I'm doing, I'm acting out the part of Beatle George, and, you know, we're all acting out our own parts. And, you know, the world is a stage and the people are the players. Shakespeare said that. And he's right, you know. Just,
You expect another part later.
oh, many parts. There's, yes, whichever.
Is that why you've come to terms with it?
Yes, because you just do whatever you can do. I mean, even if it's been a Beatle for the rest of my life, it's still only a temporary thing. And, I mean, really all we did was get born and live so many years, and
Labelled.
this is what happened. You know, I got born seemingly to become Beatle George, but it doesn't really matter who you are or what you are, because that's only a temporary sort of tag for a limited sort of period of years.
Do you enjoy it now?
It's the same as any job, you know. It's up and down, you know. Life is up and down all the time. And maybe for us it goes up higher, but it comes down lower. Relativity. So, you know, if we have a bad time, it's really bad. And if we have a good time, maybe it's really good. But it's only the same, you know. It's relativity. So it's the same law operates for everybody.
Yes.
But they only, you know, it's the same thing. Like they see showbiz, that thing, and all they think of is, oh, all that money you've got, and you've got a big house and car and all that sort of thing. But the problems that come along with that, you know, are incredible. And I can tell you, everything material that we have, every £100 we've earned, we've got £100 worth of problems to balance it.
Yes.
It's very ironical in a way, because, you know, we've all got maybe a big house and a car and an office, but to actually get the money that you've earned is virtually impossible. It's like illegal to earn money. Well, not to earn it, it's illegal to keep the money you earn. You never give me your money, you only give me your funny paper, you know. That's what we get, bits of paper saying how much is earned and what this and that. But you never actually get it in...
Pounds, shillings and pence.
yes.
Mm.
But I think it's another of life's problems that you never actually solve. or it's very difficult to solve. And anyway, you've just got to, no matter how much money you've got, you can't be happy anyway. So you have to find your happiness with the problems you have, and you have to not worry too much about them. And Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
George, how did you come to record Hare Krishna?
Because the people from the Radha Krishna temple were over here since about a year, and I got to know a couple of them because they were in and out of Apple office, and I've known about Hare Krishna mantra anyway for a number of years. They made originally the spiritual master made a record in America, which didn't really sell well, and apparently the people ran off with the money, and it was but I'd got to know about it. And also in India, they chant those sort of things all over the place. The thing about it, Hare, the word Hare is a word that calls upon the energy that's around from the Lord, whichever Lord you like, really. But in this case, it happens to be Krishna, which is like the words that Christ said became the Christian Bible, then the words that Krishna said became the sort of Hindu Bible called the Bhagavad Gita. So it's just by merely the repetition of that. It's the same if you were just to go around chanting Christ, 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 Christ. If you say it long enough, then you build up this identification. Whatever you identify with, you become one with it. So it's really a method of becoming one with God. It's just another process. It's really the same sort of thing as meditation, but this is a thing. It has more effect, I think, or quicker effect, because music is such a powerful force. And they say God likes me when I work, but loves me when I sing. So, but it's really the same end as meditation. The response that comes from it is in the form of bliss. That's what I say, the more you do it, the more you don't want to stop it, because it feels so nice, peaceful. I believe in the saying, if there's a God, we must see him. And I don't believe in the idea like in most churches they say, now, you're not going to see him, he's way above you, just believe what we tell you and shut up. Well, the whole thing is a different way. It's a process of actually having that realization and direct God perception, which is the thing you can attain through chanting and through meditation. And then you don't have any questions. You don't have to ask the vicar about this, because it all becomes clear with the expanded state of consciousness. But you don't get it in 5 minutes. It's something that takes a long time. So it's like to give peace a chance, or all you need is love. The thing is, you can't just stand there and say love, 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 or peace, 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 and get it. You have to have a direct process of attaining that. It's like, Christ said, put your own house in order. Maharishi said, for a forest to be green, each tree must be green. So the same, for the world to have peace, each individual must have peace. And you don't get it through society's normal channels. And that's why each individual must attend to himself and get his own peace, and that way the whole society will have peace.
George, and what about these rules? Do you support all these things that the Krishna movement support? I mean, they don't approve, for example, of alcohol and drugs, and they recommend a certain kind of food, vegetarian sort of methods.
Well, there's certain...
And no sex unless you're going to have children, right?
Non-illicit sex, which means... So there are members of this Radha Krishna temple who are married and who have children. So all that means is, not raving around, knocking off everybody, because that's then becomes a bit of discipline, because all those emotions like that, lust and greed, are emotions that have got to be curbed. I believe in being a vegetarian, because meat's one of the worst things anybody can eat.
What about the other ones?
Which ones?
No alcohol or drugs.
Yeah, well, I don't drink alcohol personally because, I mean, that's one reason why I smoked pot. I mean, when I started smoking pot a few years ago, I hope they won't edit this piece out because I'm not really...
I think they won't. I'm sure they won't. I won't let them.
Okay, the thing was that as soon as I smoked pot, I gave up alcohol because I realized the only reason I was drinking alcohol was to get high. So I got high much easier without any sickness after it. But the thing is now that to really have pure state of consciousness and good perception that is above the normal state of consciousness that we're aware of, then you must have a perfectly clear mind. So alcohol and any sort of drugs is out. But I haven't taken anything like that personally for a long time. In fact, even before I got busted, I never took it. It just happened that, you know, that they seemed to bring it with them that day.
I see.
So, but that's a different story. Edit. Anyway, yes, I agree with that because in order to have, to really get high, you've got to have a pure system. You know, your mind and body's got to be clear.
Two of the most beautiful songs on Abbey Road are from yourself, when we've been so used to Lennon-McCartney compositions, and of course, you know, people have been commenting this week about Something and Here Comes the Sun, which are your own compositions. How did this all happen? It's so unusual for you to contribute so much to an LP.
Well, not really.
The Beatles.
I mean, the last album we did had 4 songs of mine on, and you know, I thought they were all right. So, you know, I thought Something and Here Comes the Sun was okay, probably maybe a bit more commercial, but as songs, not much better than the songs on the last album. But I've been writing for a couple of years now, and there's been lots of songs I've written which I haven't actually got round to recording. So, you know, in my own mind, I don't see what the fuss is, because I've heard these songs before and I wrote them, you know, quite a while back. And it's really nice that people like the songs, but...
you don't look upon yourself as a late developer as regards songwriting then, because it's sort of kind of hit everyone that way, you know.
You know, late, early, you know, what's late and what's early.
But you hadn't really got the reputation
No.
yet as
I mean,
a songwriter, had you?
I wasn't Lennon or I wasn't McCartney. And, you know, I was me. And the only reason I started to write songs was because I thought, well, if they can write them, I can write. Everybody can write songs if they want to, if they have a desire to, and if they have sort of some musical knowledge and background. And then it's by writing them, the same as writing books or writing articles or painting. The more you do it, the better, or the more you can understand how to do it. And I used to just write songs. I still do. I just write a song and it just comes out however it wants to. And some of them are catchy songs, like Here Comes the Sun, and some of them aren't, you know, but to me there's just songs and I just write them, and some will be considered as good by maybe the masses and some won't, but to me they're just songs, things that are there that have to be got out.
What inspired Something, for example?
Maybe Patty, probably.
Really?
I think I wrote it at the time when we were making the last double album. And it's just the first line, Something in the Way She Moved, which has been in millions of songs. It's not a special thing, but it just seemed quite apt. And I usually get like the first few lines of lyrics and melody both at once. And then I finish the melody usually first and then have to write the words. Like, there's another song I wrote when we were in India about 18 months ago, and I wrote it straight away, and the first verse I wrote just said everything I wanted to say like that. And then now I need to write a couple more verses, and I find it much more difficult. But John gave me a handy tip once, which was once you start to write a song, try and finish it straight away while you're in the mood. And I've learned from experience, because you go back to it, and then you're in a whole different state of mind, and it's more difficult. Sometimes it's easier, but on the whole, it's more difficult to come back to something. So I do now try and finish them straight away.
This is the first time that one of your songs has been released as a Beatles single, isn't it?
As an A-side, yeah.
As an A-side.
They blessed me with a couple of B-sides in the past, but this is the first time I've had an A-side. Big deal, eh?
Yes. And Here Comes the Sun, that sounds a more obvious one. You must have been inspired by the sun, but where were you?
The story behind that was, like Paul's song, You Never Give Me Your Money, I think, because whatever you're involved with rubs off and influences you. You Never Give Me Your Money was, I think, during all these business things that we had to go through to sort out the past. So it came out in Paul's song.
Was that written as a sort of dig, or was it written
No,
as
I
a
don't
sort
think
of
so. I think it's just written as that's what it is, that's what we are experiencing, Paul in particular. But Here Comes the Sun was the same period. We had meetings and meetings and all this, bankers and, lawyers and all sorts of things and contracts and shares. And it was really awful because it's not the sort of thing we enjoy. And one day, I didn't come into the office. I just it was like sagging off school. And I went to a friend's house in the country, and it was just sunny, and it was all just the release of the tension that had been building up on me. And it was just really nice sunny day, and I picked up the guitar, which was the first time I'd played the guitar for a couple of weeks because I'd been so busy. And the first thing that came out was that song. It just came. And I finished it later when I was on holiday in Sardinia.
What was your own personal response to the Abbey Road album? How did you feel it comparing it with previous albums?
I thought it was quite nice. On the whole, I think it's a pretty good album.
What are your own personal favourites? Which ones that
I
you
like,
really do like?
I like, my favourite one is, I think, Because.
Oh, yeah.
And just because I like three-part harmony. We've never done something like that for years, I think, since a B-side. When you were red tonight, remember what I said tonight? So I like that. I like, I don't know, I like lots of them. I like Never Give Me Your Money and Golden Slumbers and things. Paul always writes nice melodies. In fact, I don't know where he finds them half the time. It's amazing for doing that. I like Ringo's song because, I mean, most people say, oh, well, it's Ringo or, haha, or something. But it's great that Ringo should do it. Why shouldn't he do it? And it's just like a country and western tune anyway, and it's happy tune, and it's all that. And I like what he's saying about rest our head on the seabed and all that. We could be warm beneath the storm.
I think the little kids are going to love that.
Well, yeah, maybe some big kids like it. I've heard a few people already who are big kids saying that it's their favourite track on the album. So, you know, you can't, what one person may dislike certain things, somebody else likes it, which makes it difficult doing albums because we're all influenced by sort of different things, and the Beatles has always been sort of a lot of different music. It's never been one sort of bag. But the thing is that you can set a high standard and it doesn't necessarily have to be a hit. You know, this is one thing. I don't know, the market for hits is, I just can't figure it out. I know when the Beatles put out a single, it's a hit. But I don't know, if sometimes I feel if somebody else had put out the same thing but done in their way, it might be a hit. I don't know. It's very difficult. I've really decided I haven't got a clue what's commercial and what isn't. And that's the problem, you know, trying to decide what is and what isn't a single. I think the American idea is really good, where they just put out an album, and the stations over there, you know, they have a lot of independent stations. Unlike Britain, you see, that's a problem with Britain. You've got your good old BBC, full stop. You know, maybe Radio Luxembourg if the weather's fine. You know, this is the thing I don't like. It's the monopolies commission. Now, if anybody, you know, Kodak or somebody is cleaning up the market with film, the monopolies commission, the government send them in there and say, you know, you're not allowed to monopolize. Yet, when the government's monopolizing, who's going to send in, you know, this commission to sort that lot out? Britain, in a way, you know, it cuts its own throat. Just from my experience of Britain, it's, you know, it's on every level, you know, from your tax right down into every little speck of business. The British government's policy seems to be grab as much as you can now, because maybe it's only going to last another 6 months. I know personally for me, there's no point in me going out and doing a job, doing a show, or doing a TV show or anything, you know, because in Britain, first of all, they can't afford to pay you, and whatever they do pay you is taxed so highly that it ends up that you owe them money. So, you know, why bother working? But if my tax was cut, then I'd do 4 times as much work. I'd make 4 times as much money. They'd take less tax, but they'd make more from me. But they cut their own throat. They do it all over the show. Every place you look in Britain, it's the same. You know, it's like, I mean, it makes me sick sometimes. It's like, you know, one big Coronation Street, and that's Britain. Now, in America, there's more people, and there's more good people, there's more bad people, but just generally there's more of everything, so the more things get heard, more things get done, and, you know, it really pays.
Yes. Would you like to see the Beatles performing on stage live again?
I don't know. I wouldn't mind playing, you know. I like playing the guitar with people and singing a few songs and stuff. But I don't know as to going on clubs and things like that.
Yes. You can't split, can you?
No. Well, I think it's mental. It's a mental concept. But to physically or spiritually split is impossible. Well, maybe not physically. I mean, spiritually. It's, you know, you can't split.
No. So that doesn't bother you?
Because if you're listening, I'm the walrus too.